Welcome back viewers. Today I have brought a new chapter from New Horizon Today, Reader 8, Chapter 1, Daffodils. I am explaining you the poem The Daffodils. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high over hills and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. Here the poet William Wordsworth was saying about that he was wandering, that means just roaming about on a valley and hills just like a cloud, when suddenly he saw a crowd, a bunch of rather daffodils, and daffodils are golden yellow in color, so he said them as golden daffodils. I saw a crowd of host of golden daffodils. He saw them beside the lake beneath the trees. They were just moving along with the breeze like fluttering and dancing. Now, continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, they stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay in thousand, saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. So, what the poet was saying about that, continuously they are shining, they are beautiful looks, they are shining and twinkling just like the stars do in the Milky Way. They stretch in such a huge line that it cannot be seen where it ends. So he said that they stretched in never-ending line, and it was all along the margin of the bay. He thought at a glance he have seen at least 10,000 tossing their heads in sprightly dance. That means they are blooming and just dancing in the bright beautiful way. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. I guessed and guessed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. For oft when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils by William Wordsworth. So the poet again here says that the waves beside them also dance. The wave of the bay, they dance like the flowers were dancing. Outdid the sparkling waves in glee. That means you know the meaning of outdid is surpassed. The waves were just surpassing the such a beautiful nature, the beauty of the daffodils dance. The poet could not be sad but be just happy in such a beautiful, merry, cheerful company. He just see and thought that for a beautiful wealth which can no one rob from him. The poet said that whenever he remained light in the couch in his vacant time, when he was not doing anything or his mood was not so good, he was deeply involved in some serious thoughts, just as he closes his eyes he can feel the perfect joy of being alone, as because whenever he feels alone and closes his eyes he can again dream those beauty of the daffodil flowers, and they come to his mind and make his heart filled with pleasure, and he again dances with the daffodils. That means his mind becomes refreshed. I am going to discuss some relevant question answers of this chapter according to class 8. Let's see. For the first point, like when was William Wordsworth born? He was born in the year 1720 and he died in the year 1850. William Wordsworth belongs to a romantic period. Now the question comes, I wandered lonely as a cloud. What is it? It is a lyric. The poem is inspired by which event? An event on 15th April 1802 when William Wordsworth and his sister Dorothy came across a long belt of daffodils. That time he got the idea, or just seeing those daffodils, he wrote this never forgettable poem, Daffodils. Now, what action does the speaker describe the daffodils performing? They were dancing, fluttering. To what natural image does the speaker compare the flowers in the second stanza? The poet here compares the second stanza with the stars as the Milky Way, the stars in the Milky Way. So it is the second stanza. Now, in the third stanza, wealth most probably refers to was about an abundance of joyful thoughts. Here, the wealth of solitude he was talking about. So, in the last stanza, the inward eye most probably refers to the part of our mind that helps us to recall our thoughts and memories. Here, as the poet said. Now comes, what does the jocund company consist of? The jocund company consists of the daffodils, clouds, stars, breeze, valleys, waves, hills, and lakes. What cheers the poet when he is sad or worried about something? The memory of the dancing daffodils cheers him. What is the central idea of the poem? The healing of the speaker's experience from the lovely sight. If one is ever deep in some thoughts, he can feel very light and joyful just by remembering a beautiful idea. Now, what is bliss of solitude referred to here? The poet wants to express that he felt really happy in the joyful company of the daffodils and the waves. This he was going to refer to as the bliss of solitude. Next comes the question, what does we mean by the inward eye? So here the inward eye, the poet refers to the imagination which provide him the sight of the daffodils. Second one, the two moods of the poet are here. One is happy mood and another is pensive mood. Happy mood is when he is free from worries, and pensive mood means when he is serious and deeply immersed in thoughtful memories. So one is happy, another is pensive mood. What does the poet compare himself to? He was comparing himself like a cloud in the sky. Why does the poet call the flowers a host of golden daffodils? The daffodils are yellow and therefore comparable to the golden in its color. Is it clear? Next comes, why does the sight of daffodils come to poet's mind later in the poem? The poet was so much moved by the beauty of those flowers that they left an everlasting impact on his mind. The poet starts the poem with the simile and compare himself with the cloud of wandering lonely. Do you know what is simile? Simile means when we are comparing a same thing with another, that is known as simile. What is the message of the poem? The little moments in life could be the most profound. That means sometimes a little moment could give us such a beautiful memory whenever we remain in some deeply involved in some thoughts which makes us worried. But if we close our eyes, the beautiful memory of one side could make us from inward feel a pleasant feelings, a joyfulness within our mind. So that was he was talking about here. Who wandered like a lonely cloud and where? The poet wandered like a lonely cloud when he was walking through the hills and valleys. Where were the daffodils and what were they doing? The daffodils were beside lake beneath the tree and were dancing with gay in the breeze. What has been compared to the stars and why? The daffodils has been compared to the stars because they were stretched in a never-ending line and it blinks like a star on the Milky Way. Describe in your own words the poet's feeling when he sees the host of golden daffodils. The poet's heart was filled with joy when he saw the golden daffodils fluttering and dancing. His loneliness vanished. What happened to the poet when he sometimes in a pensive mood? Now you can see this answer can be right in a short form or a long form. For now, I am just telling you the short form of the answer. When the poet is sometimes in a pensive mood, the pleasure to see the daffodils flash upon his inward eye and his heart will fill with joy and his loneliness becomes joyful. What view of nature is presented here? Nature is relied on to make people feel better. This view is presented here. Which two words in the last two lines of the first stanza rhyme? The word trees and breeze in the last two lines of the first stanza rhyme here. Now comes RTC, that means reference to the context. They stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. So the first question comes, what are being referred to as they? Here in the above quoted lines, they refers to the numerous golden daffodils. Which words indicate that the poet saw a large number of those things? The word never-ending line indicates that the poet saw a large number of flowers. Where did the poet spot them? The poet spotted them beside a lake beneath the trees fluttering in the breeze. What does he compare them to? What figure of speech does he use? The flowers are compared to the stars. They stretched in a continuous line just like the stars in a galaxy, like the Milky Way. The figure of speech used here is simile. Second RTC, a poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. What does the word jocund mean? Who were jocund? The word jocund means joyful. Jocund company refers to the joyful company of the flowers. Who did they outdo in being jocund? The overwhelming dance of the daffodils outdid the sparkling waves of the lake. How did their mood affect the poet? The sight of the beautiful daffodils had enriched the poet's mind with the memory of the delightful vision. The daffodils had imprinted upon his mind forever. He experienced the spiritual joy which he seemed to share with beautiful flowers. The third RTC. They flash upon that inward eye which is a bliss of solitude. What do the words inward eye means? What flashed on the poet's inward eye? The inward eye means the visual imagination that takes the poet to the world of past recollections. It is something that cannot be shared with other people. The golden daffodils which he has seen in the valley flash upon his inward eye. What does the phrase the bliss of solitude mean, and how does the poet feel the bliss of solitude? The bliss of solitude means the blessings of loneliness. The poet William Wordsworth says that when he is alone, in vacant and in pensive mood, that is, when he is not doing anything particular, the daffodils which he had seen in the valley flash upon his inward eye and fill his heart with pleasure. What impact does the memory of the daffodils have on the poet? The poet felt very joyous in the jocund company of daffodils. The poet stood there long and stirred the scenic beauty in his memory. Long afterwards, when the poet grew thoughtful, the gleeful thoughts about the daffodils flashed across his mind and filled him with pleasure. Now, last question of this one RTC was, what happens when he experiences feeling? The poet, who was lonely in the beginning of the poem, experiences the bliss of solitude by the end. He then feels calm and refreshed. Now, the one question of this poem was, what role does the memory play in the poem? Memory and imagination play an important role in the poem Daffodils. In the first three stanzas, the poet imagines and depicts the nature as he sees around him. He sketches the surroundings through his imagination till he reaches the daffodils. In the final stanza, the poet uses his memory to recall the vision he witnessed in their first three stanzas. Now, viewers, if you were thinking about solving about these questions, you can do by yourself just by seeing the earlier question answers I have discussed about. Like this RTC, continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, this stretched never-ending line along the margin of a bay. What are the stars being compared to here? The stars are being compared to the daffodils. Then why is the comparison made here? As because their beauties are same. As the stars twinkle in the sky, same in here, in this poem, the daffodils were sparkling with their beautiful golden color. Now, how many did the poet see in a never-ending line? You can see in the never-ending line, he have told about the word 10,000. So you were going to write that the poet saw in a never-ending line of about 10,000 of daffodils. Okay, now what was the mood of the poet before he saw this scene? Before seeing this scene, he was in a mood of vacant, wandering, lonely. So he was in a vacant mood. Now I am again discussing the second RTC. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. What does the poet gaze at? Can you guess what the gaze he was thinking about? I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. What does the poet gaze at? The poet gazed about the daffodils. Okay. Now, what show is being referred to here? The show here also. So in this RTC, I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. At first, see which stanza it is. This one, the first one stanza, then second stanza, it is the third stanza and the fourth stanza. So in the beginning of the video, I have told about the third stanza. Wealth most probably refers to an abundant joyful thoughts. That means in this third stanza, we are going to see about the poet's recall feelings and the thing whatever he felt in his mind at that time. So what does the poet gaze at? The poet was gaze about the beauty of the daffodils. Now, what show is being referred to here? Here, the show of the dance of the daffodils was talking about how they were comparably dancing along with the sparkling waves of the lake. Now, what wealth is spoken of here? Here, the wealth was talking about the joyful, abundant thoughts. Okay, see, I have already what the thirst and the wealth most probably refers to here, an abundance of joyful thoughts. Okay, you got the answer. Did the poet knew what wealth he had received? Yes, the poet knew that he had got an Yes, the poet did know the wealth what he had received. The poet knew that he had received an unforgettable wealth of a beautiful memory he got. Now comes the third RTC. For often when on my couch I lie in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye, which is a place of solitude. What do the words vacant and pensive means? You know the word vacant and pensive wants to mean the uninterested and involving deeply in serious thoughts. These two words mean serious. Then what does the inward eye refers to? For that question answer, you can write that inward eye refers to the eye of the poet's imagination, which provide him the sight of daffodils. Next come the question, explain the phrase of bliss of solitude. Again, see what is the bliss of solitude refers to here. The poet wants to express that he felt really happy in the joyful company of the daffodils and the waves. Here the bliss of solitude referred here is this one. What effect is produced by the flash of memory? You can also write like this answer, that what impact does the memory of the daffodils have on the poet. So for writing effectively that answer, that what effect is produced by the flash of memory, you can write the poet felt that very joyous in the jocund company of the daffodils. He stood there long and stored the scenic beauty in his memory. Long afterwards, when the poet grew thoughtful, the gleeful thoughts about the daffodils flashed across his mind and filled him with pleasure. So for writing the last answer, what effect is produced by the flash of memory, you can take it from this answer, what impact does the memory of the daffodils have on the poet. So for writing this answer, what effect is produced by the flash of memory, you can write that long afterwards when the poet grew thoughtful and the gleeful thoughts about the daffodils flashed across his mind and filled him with pleasure. Okay. Now for answering these questions briefly, that when did the poet see the daffodils, what did he compare himself to that, if you can again go to the first portion of the video, then you can see that all those answers are already given, that compared himself to the cloud, when did he saw all these things. You can just go through the video once again from the beginning. You can write the answer by yourself. Okay. Where did the poet spot the daffodils? Beside the lake. This was also written here, the way the poet found them in the lake. He has found them, and in the beginning of the poem I also explained you, so that you can write these brief answers. Then what did the daffodils outdo in their dance? That means how they were dancing, they are fluttering and smiling. Then what smile has the poet used? Simile. What simile has the poet used to describe their vast number, that never ending line? When does he think of the daffodils again? When he was in pensive mood. How does he feel? Then he felt joyful, pleasure. Then find the similes used in the poem. What is the rhyme scheme of the poem? All these question answers have been explained earlier in this video. So please, for writing or answering these brief questions, go through the video once again. I think hopefully you can perform this by yourself. Okay, this much today. Okay, so today this much. Hope you will like the video. Again, we will be back with another informative video. Bye bye.